My name is Pearlie Washington, and I'm 65 years old. For 38 years, I was married to a man who thought he could control me through shame and humiliation. His name was Homer Washington, and he loved making me look small in front of other people, especially our family. But on one Thanksgiving evening, surrounded by our entire extended family, Homer tried to humiliate me one last time. And that's when I finally fought back. The look on his face when I revealed all his lies. I'll never forget it as long as I live. I stood in the middle of my sister Zenobia's crowded dining room, my heart pounding but my voice steady. Around me sat 23 members of our family, my children, grandchildren, siblings, nieces, nephews, everyone. And at the head of the table sat Homer, my husband of 38 years, with a smug smile on his face. "Go ahead, Pearlie," Homer said, that cruel smile still playing on his lips. "Tell everyone why you've been so stressed lately. Tell them about all the money you've been wasting. Tell them how you can't manage our household properly." Everyone was staring at me. Some looked sympathetic, some looked curious, some looked uncomfortable, like they wanted to be anywhere but here. This was Homer's favorite game, publicly humiliating me, making me look incompetent in front of the people whose opinions I cared about most. For 38 years, I'd taken it. I'd stood there, embarrassed and silent, while Homer painted me as stupid, wasteful, and incapable. But not today. Today, I was done. "You're right, Homer," I said calmly. "I should tell everyone the truth, but not the version you want them to hear, the real truth." Homer's smile faltered slightly. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone and held it up. "I'm talking about the fact that you've been lying to this family for years. About me, about our finances, about everything." "Pearlie, what are you doing?" Homer's voice had an edge of warning now. "I'm doing what I should have done a long time ago," I said. "I'm telling the truth." I turned to face the family. "Homer has spent the last 5 years telling all of you that I'm bad with money, that I waste his hard-earned income on frivolous things, that I can't be trusted to manage our household. Isn't that right, Homer?" Homer's face was turning red. "Pearlie, sit down. This isn't the time." "This is exactly the time," I interrupted. "Because I'm tired of you lying about me. I'm tired of you making me look bad to make yourself look good. And I'm tired of protecting your secrets." "I don't have any secrets," Homer said, but his voice was shaking now. "Don't you?" I asked. I pulled up a photo on my phone. "Then explain this." I showed the screen to my daughter Winnie, who was sitting closest to me. Her eyes went wide. "What is it, Mom?" she asked. "It's a bank statement," I said. "From an account your father has been hiding from me for 15 years. An account with over $200,000 in it." The room erupted in shocked gasps and exclamations. Homer stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "You went through my private files. You had no right." "I had every right," I said, my voice rising. "I'm your wife, but that's not even the worst part. Should I tell them about the rest, Homer, or do you want to?" Homer's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. His face had gone from red to pale white. "What rest?" my sister Zenobia asked. "Pearlie, what's going on?" I looked directly at Homer. Tell them about Dovie. Tell them about the apartment you've been renting for her. Tell them about the credit cards you opened in my name to pay for your affair." Homer's mouth literally dropped open. He stared at me in complete shock, unable to form words. And in that moment, I knew I had him. But to understand how we got here, I need to take you back to where it all started. I met Homer in 1987 when I was 27 years old. I was working as a nurse at City General Hospital, and he was brought in after a minor car accident. He was handsome, charming, and funny. He flirted with me while I checked his vitals, and by the time he was discharged, he'd asked me out to dinner. I said yes. For the first year, Homer was wonderful. He was attentive, romantic, and seemed genuinely interested in me. He had a good job as a sales manager at a car dealership, and he talked about his big dreams for the future. "I'm going to be somebody, Pearlie," he'd tell me. "I'm going to make something of myself, and I want you there with me when I do. When he proposed after 18 months of dating, I was thrilled. We got married in a small ceremony in 1989, surrounded by our families. I thought I was marrying my best friend, my partner, my forever. I was wrong. The changes started slowly, so slowly I didn't even notice at first. A few months after our wedding, Homer suggested I quit my nursing job. "We don't need two incomes," he said. "I make enough to support us both. And wouldn't it be nice if you could focus on making our home beautiful instead of working those long hospital shifts?" I hesitated. I loved nursing. I loved helping people, feeling useful, having my own income. But Homer was persistent. "Don't you trust me to take care of you?" he'd ask. "Don't you want to be home when I get there instead of exhausted from work?" Eventually, I gave in. I quit my job and became a full-time housewife. That was my first mistake. Because once I didn't have my own income, Homer had complete financial control, and he used it. "I'll handle all the money," Homer announced one day. "You just tell me what you need for groceries and household stuff, and I'll give it to you." "But shouldn't I know about our finances?" I asked. "Our savings, our bills." "Why," Homer said, "you don't have a head for numbers, Pearly. That's my job. Your job is taking care of the home." I didn't have a head for numbers. That stung. I'd managed my own finances perfectly well before we got married. But I let it go. I told myself Homer was just being traditional, that lots of marriages worked this way. The first time Homer humiliated me in public was at a family barbecue in 1992. We were at his brother Sterling's house, and everyone was gathered around the picnic table. Homer was telling a story about something that happened at work. "So I come home," Homer said, "and Pearly has spent $60 on groceries. $60 for 1 week. Can you believe that?" Everyone laughed, though some of the laughs sounded uncomfortable. "Homer, that's actually pretty reasonable for groceries," Sterling's wife said. "Not the way Pearly shops," Homer said. "She buys name brands instead of generic. She gets the fancy bread instead of the cheap stuff. She doesn't know how to budget." I felt my face burning with embarrassment. "Homer, I buy what we need." "What we need or what you want?" Homer interrupted, still smiling like this was all a big joke. "There's a difference, Pearly." Everyone was looking at me now, judging, wondering if Homer was right, if I really was wasteful and bad with money. I didn't say anything else. I just sat there, humiliated, while Homer continued making jokes at my expense. That night, when we got home, I tried to talk to him about it. "Homer, it really hurt when you made fun of me in front of everyone," I said. "Can you please not do that?" "I wasn't making fun of you," Homer said. "I was just telling the truth. If you don't like hearing it, maybe you should stop being so wasteful." "I'm not wasteful. $60 for a week's worth of groceries is normal." "Not in this house," Homer said firmly. "From now on, you get $50 a week for groceries. That should be plenty if you shop smart." And that was that. No discussion. No compromise, just Homer's decision, final and absolute. Over the years, the public humiliation became a regular pattern. At family gatherings, Homer would tell stories about my supposed incompetence. "Pearly burned dinner again last night. I swear she could burn water." "Pearly spent an hour looking for her car keys. They were in her purse the whole time. I tell you, her memory is going." "Pearly wanted to buy a new dress. A new dress. Like she doesn't have a closet full of perfectly good clothes already." Every story painted me as stupid, forgetful, wasteful, or incompetent. And every time, I'd sit there, my face burning with shame, while family members laughed or looked at me with pity. I tried to defend myself at first. "That's not what happened. Homer, that's not fair. You're exaggerating." But Homer always had a way of making me look even worse when I protested. "See, she can't even take a little joke. So sensitive. Pearly's always trying to rewrite history. That's exactly what happened, and everyone knows it." Eventually, I stopped defending myself. It was easier to just sit there and take it. Homer and I had 3 children. Winnie in 1991, Artie in 1993, and Royal in 1996. I loved my children more than anything. They were my whole world, especially since I'd given up my career. But Homer used even them as tools for humiliation. Winnie got a B on her math test because Pearlie can't help her with homework. Numbers aren't her strong suit. Artie's room is messy because Pearlie doesn't teach the kids to clean up properly. Royal's late to school again because Pearlie can't manage mornings. Never mind that Homer didn't help with homework or cleaning or morning routines. In his narrative, everything wrong with the children was my fault. Everything right with them was because of his good genes. The kids started to notice as they got older. "Why does Dad always make fun of you, Mom?" Winnie asked me when she was about 12. "He's not making fun of me," I lied. "He's just joking." "It doesn't sound like joking," Winnie said. "It sounds mean." "Your father loves me," I insisted. "Sometimes people joke around in ways that seem mean but aren't." I don't know if Winnie believed me. I didn't even believe myself. What I didn't know, what I wouldn't discover for many years, was that Homer's control went far beyond just humiliating me. He'd been financially abusing me our entire marriage. The allowance he gave me for groceries and household expenses, it was bare minimum, while he spent freely on himself. The savings account he said we were building together, it was in his name only, and I had no access to it. The credit cards he said we didn't need, he had 3 of them, spending on things I never saw. And the worst part, he'd opened credit cards in MY name without telling me. Cards he used for his own purchases, running up debt that was legally my responsibility. I didn't know any of this. I trusted Homer to handle our finances. I believed him when he said money was tight, that we had to be careful, that we couldn't afford extras. Meanwhile, he was living a completely different financial life than the one he showed me. The wake-up call came 2 years ago, when I was 63. I decided I wanted to get a part-time job. The kids were grown and gone. I was lonely at home all day. And I missed feeling useful, feeling like I had a purpose beyond cooking and cleaning. "I'm going to apply for a job at the library," I told Homer. "Just part-time, a few hours a week." "Absolutely not," Homer said immediately. "Why not?" I asked. "I'm bored at home, I want something to do." "You have plenty to do," Homer said. "The house, the yard, helping with the grandkids. You don't need a job." "But I want one," I insisted. "No," Homer said firmly. "I don't want my wife working. It makes me look bad, like I can't provide for you." "That's ridiculous." "The answer is no, Pearlie," Homer said. "End of discussion." But for the first time in 38 years, I didn't accept his answer. I applied for the job anyway. And I got it. When I told Homer, he was furious. "I told you not to do this," he shouted. "And I did it anyway," I said. "Homer, I need this. I need to feel like I'm more than just your housekeeper." "You're my wife," Homer said. "That should be enough." "Well, it's not," I said. I started working at the library 3 days a week. It was wonderful. I met new people, felt productive, and for the first time in decades, I had my own money. My own money that Homer couldn't control. And that terrified him. After I started working, Homer's humiliation tactics escalated. He couldn't control me financially anymore, at least not completely, so he doubled down on controlling me socially. At every family gathering, he'd have new stories about my supposed failures. "Pearlie's working at the library now. I don't know why. It's not like we need the money. I think she's just bored and wants attention." Pearlie spent her whole first paycheck on a new outfit. Couldn't even wait to save it. No financial discipline. Pearlie thinks she's so independent now with her little job. Still can't balance a checkbook, though. The comments got meaner, more cutting, more designed to make me look foolish. But something had changed in me. Working at the library, having coworkers who respected me, earning my own money, it reminded me that I was capable, that I wasn't the incompetent fool Homer made me out to be. I started paying closer attention to things, to Homer's stories. to our finances, to the lies he told. And I started discovering things that shocked me. It started innocently enough. I was cleaning Homer's home office one day and found a bank statement that had fallen behind his desk. The statement was for an account I'd never heard of, an account with over $150,000 in it. $150,000. I stared at that number in disbelief. Homer had been telling me for years that we couldn't afford things, a new car for me, repairs to the house, vacations. He said money was tight, that we had to be careful, that we were living paycheck to paycheck. But he had $150,000 in a secret account. I took pictures of the statement with my phone. Then I started looking for more. Over the next few weeks, I quietly went through Homer's office whenever he was at work. I found 3 credit cards I didn't know about, all maxed out. Investment accounts in his name only. A safety deposit box key. I had no idea what was in it. And receipts, so many receipts. Receipts for expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never been to. Receipts for hotel rooms in our own city. Receipts for jewelry I'd never received. My hands shook as I photographed everything, because I was starting to realize something terrible. Homer wasn't just financially controlling me. He was hiding something much worse. I took all my evidence to a lawyer named Dovie Martinez, the same one my friend had used for her divorce. Dovie looked through everything with a grim expression. "Mrs. Washington, I hate to say this, but these hotel receipts, these restaurant charges, the jewelry purchases, it looks like your husband might be having an affair." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. An affair. "I can't say for certain without more information," Dovie said, "but I'd recommend hearing a private investigator to find out for sure." I hired an investigator named Judge Powell. For 3 weeks, he followed Homer, documented his movements, and gathered evidence. When Judge came back to me with his report, I felt sick. Homer had been having an affair for 7 years. 7 years. With a woman named Dovie Lane, who worked as a receptionist at his dealership. Homer had rented her an apartment, bought her a car, given her credit cards that were in MY name. He'd been living a double life, and he'd been funding it by putting me in debt without my knowledge. "What do you want to do?" Dovie Martinez asked me after I'd seen all the evidence. "I want a divorce," I said immediately. "Understandable," Dovie said. "But Mrs. Washington, your husband has been financially abusing you for years. We should expose this before filing for divorce. Make sure everyone knows what he's really been doing." "How?" I asked. "Well," Dovie said with a slight smile, "does your family have any gatherings coming up? Any occasion where everyone would be together?" I thought about it. "Thanksgiving. My sister always hosts Thanksgiving dinner. The whole family will be there." "Perfect," Dovie said. "Here's what we're going to do." Which brings us back to Thanksgiving dinner at Zenobia's house. I'd prepared everything carefully. I had all the evidence on my phone, bank statements, credit card bills, photos from the private investigator. I'd practiced what I would say, how I would stay calm, how I would reveal the truth. But I didn't know how Homer would react. I didn't know if he'd try to talk his way out of it, or if he'd get angry, or if he'd deny everything. What I did know was that I was done. Done being humiliated, done being controlled, done being lied about. Homer wanted to humiliate me, one more time in front of the family. Fine, but this time I was ready. When Homer started in on his usual routine, complaining about my spending, making jokes about my incompetence, I knew it was time. Time to finally tell the truth. Time to reveal all his lies. Time to watch his smug smile disappear when he realized I knew everything. And as I stood there in my sister's dining room, holding up my phone with all the evidence of Homer's betrayal, watching his mouth drop open in shock, I finally felt powerful. PARLIE just exposed Homer in front of the entire family. His secret bank account, his 7-year affair, the credit cards in her name. But how will he react? What happens next? And what other secrets are about to come out? This story is just beginning. Subscribe now. Hit that like button and turn on NOTFICTONS. Drop a comment. Do you think Pearly did the right thing exposing him publicly? What would you do in her situation? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Kenya, Jamaica, Australia? Let me know. The silence in Zenobia's dining room was deafening. 23 pairs of eyes were switching between me and Homer, waiting to see what would happen next. Homer's mouth was still hanging open, his face a mixture of shock, rage, and fear. He looked like a man who'd just been hit by a truck. Pearly, how did you? Homer couldn't even form complete sentences. How did I find out? I finished for him. I hired a private investigator, Homer. I've known about Dovey for 3 months now. I've known about the secret bank accounts, the credit cards you opened in my name, all of it. My daughter Winnie stood up from her chair. Dad, is this true? Have you been cheating on Mom? This isn't. Pearly is making things up, Homer sputtered. She's confused. She doesn't understand what she's seeing. I understand perfectly, I said calmly. I swiped to another photo on my phone. This is a picture of you and Dovey Lane at Romano's restaurant on October 15th. The private investigator took it. I held up the phone so everyone could see. The photo clearly showed Homer sitting across from a woman in her 40s, holding her hand across the table. That's a work colleague, Homer said desperately. We were discussing a client. At a romantic restaurant, holding hands, my sister Zenobia asked, her voice sharp with anger. And here's another one, I continued, swiping to the next photo. This is you and Dovey entering the Riverside Apartments on October 22nd. That's the apartment you've been renting for her for 7 years, isn't it, Homer? Homer's face went from pale to bright red. You had me followed. That's an invasion of privacy. Privacy, I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. You don't get to talk about privacy, Homer. Not when you've been lying to me for 7 years. Not when you've been putting our family in debt to support your mistress. Mistress, my son Artie spoke for the first time, his voice filled with disgust. Dad, you have a mistress. This is ridiculous, Homer shouted, trying to regain control. Pearly has completely lost it. She's making up crazy stories because she's jealous and paranoid. Am I asked. I turned to the family. Does anyone have their phone? I'd like to call someone. My niece Judge held up her phone. Who do you want to call, Aunt Pearly? Dovey Lane, I said. I have her number right here. Homer's eyes went wide with panic. Don't you dare. Why not? I asked innocently. If she's just a work colleague like you claim, there should be no problem calling her, right? I took Judge's phone and dialed the number I'd gotten from the private investigator. I put it on speaker. It rang 3 times, then a woman's voice answered. Homer, baby, I thought you said you'd be at your family thing all day. Did you miss me already? The room erupted. Homer lunged for the phone, but my nephew Royal blocked him. This is not Homer, I said calmly into the phone. This is Pearly, Homer's wife. There was a gasp on the other end, then silence. I know about the apartment, Dovey, I continued. I know about the car, I know about the credit cards, and I know you've been sleeping with my husband for 7 years. I don't know what you're talking about, Dovey stammered. Yes, you do, I said. But don't worry, you can have him. I'm filing for divorce. I hung up before she could respond. The chaos that followed was overwhelming. Everyone started talking at once. Some were yelling at Homer. Some were asking me if I was okay. Some were just sitting in shocked silence. Dad, how could you do this to Mom? Winnie was crying, her voice breaking. This is unbelievable, Artie said, shaking his head. All these years, you made Mom look bad to everyone, and you were the one lying the whole time. My youngest son, Royal, just stared at his father with pure disappointment. Homer was trying to defend himself, but he'd lost the room. I can explain, if you all would just listen. Explain what? My brother Sterling cut him off. Explain how you've been cheating on your wife for 7 years. Explain how you've been humiliating her at every family gathering while you're the one living a double life. You don't understand the pressure I've been under, Homer said desperately. The stress of providing for a family, of always being the responsible one. Oh, poor you, Zenobia said sarcastically. The stress of providing was so hard that you had to get a girlfriend and rent her an apartment. That's your excuse. And what about the money, Dad? Winnie asked. Mom said you have over $200,000 in a secret account, while you've been telling her you can't afford basic things. That money is for emergencies, Homer said, for our retirement. Retirement? I laughed. Homer, you've been telling me we have no savings. You've been making me feel guilty for spending $50 on groceries, and the whole time you had $200,000 hidden away. It's not hidden, it's secured, Homer said. I was protecting our future. By lying about it? I shook my head. No, Homer, you were protecting yourself, making sure you had money that I couldn't access, keeping me dependent on you so you could control me. Tell them about the credit cards, Homer, I said. Tell them what you did. Homer's jaw clenched. Pearly, don't. He opened 3 credit cards in my name, I told the family. Without telling me, without my permission, and he maxed them all out buying things for his mistress. Is that even legal? Judge asked. No, I said. It's identity theft, it's fraud. I could press charges if I wanted to. You wouldn't, Homer said, but he didn't sound certain. Wouldn't I asked. You've been making me look bad for 38 years, Homer. You've humiliated me at every opportunity. You've made our children think I'm incompetent. You've made the whole family think I'm wasteful and irresponsible. Why? To hide your own lies, to make yourself look better. I never made you look bad, Homer protested weakly. Really? I pulled out my phone again. I recorded some of our family gatherings over the past year. Should I play them? Let everyone hear how you talk about me when you think I'm not fighting back. Homer's face went pale again. I played a recording from last Christmas. Homer's voice. Pearly wanted to buy new curtains for the living room. New curtains. Like the old ones aren't perfectly fine. I swear she thinks money grows on trees. Then Easter. Homer's voice. Pearly couldn't find the Easter eggs she'd hidden for the kids. Spent an hour looking. I think her memory is going. She's getting forgetful in her old age. Then my birthday. Homer's voice. Pearly wanted to go out for her birthday dinner. I said, why waste money at a restaurant when she can cook at home? She got upset, but honestly, her cooking is better than any restaurant anyway. I stopped the recording. The room was completely silent. That's what he does, I said quietly. Every gathering, every holiday, every time we're with family, he makes jokes at my expense. He makes me look stupid, wasteful, forgetful, incompetent. And I sat there and took it. For 38 years, I sat there and took it. Winnie was crying harder now. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I thought Dad was just joking around. So did I said. For a long time, but jokes are supposed to be funny. What Homer does isn't funny. It's cruel. It's designed to make me feel small so he can feel big. Homer sank into his chair, his head in his hands. All the fight seemed to have drained out of him. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I'm so sorry. Sorry for what specifically? I asked. Sorry for the affair. Sorry for the financial abuse. Sorry for humiliating me for 38 years. Which part are you sorry for, Homer? All of it, Homer said, looking up at me with tears in his eyes. All of it. Pearly, I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. You never meant to hurt me, I repeated incredulously. Homer, you spent nearly 4 decades systematically destroying my self-esteem. How is that not meant to hurt me? I needed to feel important, Homer said pathetically. I needed people to see me as successful as the man in charge, and putting you down. It made me feel better about myself. The honesty of that statement stunned everyone. You made your wife feel worthless so you could feel important, Zenobia said, disgust dripping from every word. That's the most pathetic thing I've ever heard. I know, Homer said. I know it's wrong. I know I messed up. But Pearly, please, we can work through this. We can go to counseling. I'll end things with Dovey. I'll be better. No, I said firmly. Please. I said no, Homer, I repeated. I'm done. I've already filed for divorce. Homer's head snapped up. What? I filed 3 weeks ago, I said. You'll be served with papers tomorrow. But before we get to that, I continued, let's talk about money. Since you love talking about my supposed financial incompetence in front of the family, let's discuss our actual finances. I pulled out a folder from my bag. Yes, I'd come prepared. This is a complete financial breakdown that my lawyer put together, I said. Over our 38-year marriage, you've told me repeatedly that we couldn't afford things. That money was tight, that I needed to be more careful with spending. Because it was true, Homer muttered. Was it? I opened the folder. According to these bank statements, over the past 10 years alone, you've spent $78,000 on the apartment for Dovey, $32,000 on gifts for her, $45,000 on vacations you took with her, while telling me we couldn't afford a family vacation, and another $60,000 on various expenses related to your double life. I looked up at him. That's $215,000, Homer. $215,000 that you spent on your affair while telling me we couldn't afford a new washing machine when ours broke. The family was staring at Homer with a mixture of disgust and disbelief. You made Mom wash clothes by hand for 6 months because you said you couldn't afford a new machine, Artie asked his father, while you were spending thousands on your girlfriend. Homer didn't answer. He just sat there looking defeated. And the credit cards you opened in my name, I continued. They have a combined balance of $87,000. $87,000 of debt that's legally my responsibility because my name is on the accounts. I was going to pay them off, Homer said weakly. With what money? I asked. You've been paying Dovey's rent and buying her gifts. Where were you planning to get $87,000? From the savings account, Homer admitted. The secret savings account that you told me didn't exist, I clarified. The account with $200,000 that you've been hiding from me our entire marriage. Homer nodded miserably. Well, here's what's going to happen, I said. My lawyer has filed for divorce on grounds of adultery and financial abuse. I'm asking for half of all marital assets, including that secret savings account. Half of your pension and retirement accounts. Alimony based on the 38 years I spent as a housewife at your insistence. And full responsibility for the credit card debt to be placed on you, since you're the one who opened them and used them. That will leave me with almost nothing, Homer protested. Good, I said coldly, because that's what you left me with, my self-esteem, my reputation in this family, my sense of worth. Nothing. So now you get to know how that feels. Pearlie, please, can't we discuss this privately? Homer begged. Why? I asked. You never had a problem discussing our finances publicly before. You loved telling everyone how bad I was with money. So let's keep that tradition going. Let's let everyone know the truth about our finances. I turned to the family. I also want you all to know, Homer's been telling people I'm bad with money, but I've actually been incredibly careful with the small allowance he gave me. I fed our family, clothed our children, and kept our household running on a fraction of what he was spending on his secret life. Mom's right, Winnie said. I remember we always had everything we needed growing up, even though Dad said money was tight. Mom made it work. Because I'm not incompetent, I said. I never was. Homer just needed you all to think I was so you wouldn't question his control over our finances. Can I ask you something, Dad? Royal spoke for the first time since the revelations began. This woman, Dovey, did she know you were married? Homer hesitated. Yes, she knew. For all 7 years, Royal pressed. Yes, Homer admitted. So she knew you had a wife and 3 kids, and she still carried on an affair with you. Royal shook his head in disgust. What kind of person does that? She's not a bad person, Homer said defensively. We fell in love. You fell in love, I repeated. With someone who was willing to help you lie to your wife and children for 7 years. That's your defense. I didn't plan for it to happen, Homer said. It just did. Nothing just happens, Homer, I said. You made choices. Every day for 7 years, you made the choice to lie to me, to sneak around, to spend our money on her, to humiliate me in front of our family to cover up your guilt. Those were choices. I know, Homer said quietly, and I'll regret them for the rest of my life. Good. I said, you should. After the initial shock wore off, my family rallied around me in a way I hadn't expected. Zenobia stood up and came to my side. Pearlie, you're staying with me tonight, and for as long as you need. I'll help you pack your things from the house, Sterling offered. Homer won't be there when we do it. I'll make sure of that. Mom, we're so sorry we didn't see this sooner, Winnie said, hugging me tightly. We should have questioned Dad's stories about you. We should have stood up for you. You didn't know, I said gently. Homer was very good at making his lies sound believable. That doesn't excuse it, Artie said. We're your kids. We should have had your back. You have it now, I said. That's what matters. Royal walked over to his father. Dad, I can't even look at you right now. What you did to Mom. It's unforgivable. Son, please. Homer reached for him. Don't, Royal said, stepping back. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. I need time to process this. A lot of time. All 3 of my children turned away from their father. The look of devastation on Homer's face was something I'd never seen before. But I felt no sympathy for him, none at all. I'm going to go now, I announced to the room. Thank you all for witnessing this, for believing me, for supporting me. Wait, Homer stood up. Pearlie, please, can we talk, just the 2 of us, 5 minutes? I looked at him, this man I'd been married to for 38 years. This man who'd systematically broken me down while pretending to love me. No, I said. We have nothing to say to each other. My lawyer will handle everything from here. I love you, Homer said desperately. I know I messed up, but I do love you. I looked him straight in the eyes. If this is what your love looks like, I don't want it. And with that, I walked out of Zenobia's house, my head held high, feeling lighter than I had in years. Behind me, I could hear Homer calling my name, begging me to come back. But I didn't turn around. I was done turning around for Homer Washington. Parliewalked out. She exposed all of Homer's lies in front of the entire family, and now she's free. But what happens next? How will Homer respond? And what other surprises are in store? This story is getting intense. Subscribe now, smash that like button, and turn on NOTFICTONS. Drop a comment. How did you feel watching Pearlie expose Homer? Do you think he deserves forgiveness? Where are you watching from? The weeks following Thanksgiving were a whirlwind. I moved into Zenobia's guest room temporarily while my lawyer worked on the divorce proceedings and finding me my own place. Homer called constantly, texted, emailed, showed up at Zenobia's house until she threatened to call the police. Pearlie, please, we need to talk. I made a mistake. Don't throw away 38 years over one mistake. I ended things with Dovey. Doesn't that mean anything? I blocked his number. I refused to engage because I knew Homer. He was a master manipulator. If I gave him even 5 minutes, he'd try to twist things, make me doubt myself, convince me I was overreacting. But I wasn't overreacting, and I wasn't going back. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I sat in my lawyer Dovey Martinez's office for a strategy meeting. Homer's lawyer filed a response to the divorce petition, Dovey said, sliding papers across her desk to me. I read through them, my anger growing with each line. Homer was contesting everything, he claimed. The affair was a brief lapse in judgment. 7 years is brief. The secret bank account was joint marital property he was managing that I had no access to. The credit cards in my name were opened with verbal consent, a complete lie. He shouldn't have to pay alimony because I was now capable of supporting myself after he forced me to be dependent for 38 years. This is ridiculous, I said. He's lying about everything. I know, Dovey said calmly, and we're going to prove it. We have the private investigator's report, the bank statements, the credit card applications that clearly show forged signatures. Homer doesn't have a leg to stand on. Then why is he fighting this? I asked. Because he's desperate, Dovey said. Pearlie, if the judge rules in our favor, which I'm confident they will, Homer is going to lose a lot. Half his savings, half his pension, alimony payments, and responsibility for the fraudulent debt. He's trying to minimize the damage. What are our chances? I asked. Very good, Dovey assured me. Especially after what you did at Thanksgiving. We have witnesses now. Your entire family heard Homer's lies and saw the evidence. Several of them have already agreed to testify on your behalf. Really, I was surprised. Your sister Zenobia called me personally, Dovey said with a slight smile. She said, and I quote, I've watched that man humiliate my sister for decades. I'll testify, and I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person he is. I felt tears in my eyes. I didn't realize how much my family cared. They always cared, Dovey said gently. They just didn't know the full truth until you showed them. My children had been processing everything in their own ways. Winnie called me every day. Mom, I keep thinking about all the times Dad made jokes about you, and I laughed. I feel so guilty. Don't, I told her. You didn't know, none of you did. But we should have known, Winnie insisted. We should have questioned why Dad was always putting you down, why he never let you make decisions, why he controlled everything. You were raised to see it as normal, I said. That's what happens in families like ours. The dysfunction becomes normalized. Artie had gone to confront his father. He told me about it later. I went to the house, Artie said. Dad was there, looking like he hadn't slept in days. He tried to explain, to justify what he did. But Mom, everything he said just made it worse. What did he say? I asked. He said he never stopped loving you, but Dovey made him feel young again. He said the affair wasn't about you being inadequate. It was about him being weak. He said he humiliated you at family gatherings because he felt guilty, and attacking you made him feel less guilty. That's so twisted, I said. I know, Artie agreed. I told him he's sick, that he needs therapy, that what he did to you was abuse, not just a mistake. What did he say to that? He cried, Artie said quietly. He broke down and cried and said he knows he destroyed our family, that he knows he doesn't deserve forgiveness, but he still asked me to convince you to give him another chance. And what did you tell him? I asked. I told him that's not my decision to make, and that if I were you, I'd never speak to him again. Royal had taken it the hardest. He'd always been closest to his father, and the betrayal hit him deeply. I don't know who he is anymore. Royal told me one evening. The man I thought was my dad, honest, hardworking, a good provider, that was all a lie. He's a cheater, a liar, a financial abuser. How do I reconcile that? You don't have to reconcile it right now, I said. Take your time, feel what you need to feel. I'm so angry, Mom, Royal said, his voice breaking. Angry at him for what he did to you, angry at myself for not seeing it, just angry. Anger is okay, I said. Use it. Let it motivate you to be a better man than your father was, to treat your future partner with respect, to never make someone feel small to make yourself feel big. I promise, Royal said, I will never be like him. 2 months after Thanksgiving, as we were preparing for the divorce hearing, my lawyer made another discovery. Pearlie, we need to talk, Dovey said when she called me. The forensic accountant I hired found something. What? I asked, my stomach sinking. Homer has a second secret account, Dovey said, in the Cayman Islands, with approximately $300,000 in it. 300,000. I couldn't believe it. So he has $500,000 hidden away while he was telling me we couldn't afford basic necessities. It gets worse, Dovey said. The deposits into that account correspond with large withdrawals from your joint tax refunds over the past 15 years. Homer was hiding your own money from you. I felt sick. Can we get it back? Yes, Dovey said. It's marital property. The judge will order it to be split. But Pearlie, this proves a pattern of financial fraud. Homer's been systematically hiding assets from you for years. Does his lawyer know you found this? I asked. Not yet, Dovey said. We're going to present it at the hearing. Let it be a surprise, just like Homer's affair was a surprise to you. One afternoon, as I was leaving the library after my shift, a woman approached me in the parking lot. It was Dovie Lane, Homer's mistress. "Mrs. Washington," she said nervously, "can we talk?" I stared at her. She was younger than me, probably in her mid-40s. Pretty in a conventional way, nothing special. This was the woman my husband had betrayed me for. "What do you want?" I asked coldly. I wanted to apologize," Dovie said. "For everything. For the affair, for hurting you, for being part of Homer's lies." "You want forgiveness?" I asked. "Is that why you're here?" "No," Dovie said quickly. "I know you'll never forgive me, and you shouldn't. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and that it's over. Homer and I are done." "I know," I said. "He told me he ended it." "He didn't," Dovie said. "I ended it. After you called me on Thanksgiving, I realized what kind of man he really is. A man who would humiliate his wife to cover up his affair. That's not a man I want to be with." I almost laughed. "It took you 7 years to figure out that cheating with a married man makes you a bad person." Dovie flinched. "I know, I was wrong. I told myself it was okay because he said you didn't love each other anymore, that the marriage was dead. But that was just another one of his lies, wasn't it?" "Yes," I said, "it was." "He told me you were cold, distant, that you didn't appreciate him," Dovie continued. "He made himself sound like the victim, and I believed him. We always believe the lies that make us feel better about our bad choices," I said. Dovie nodded, tears in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Washington. I know that doesn't mean anything, but I am." "You're right," I said. "It doesn't mean anything. But I appreciate you ending it and telling me the truth about who ended it. At least you have more integrity than Homer." I walked to my car, leaving Dovie standing there in the parking lot. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired. Tired of Homer's lies. Tired of the drama. Tired of dealing with the mess he'd made of our lives. One evening, Winnie came to Zenobia's house to talk to me. She looked nervous. "Mom, I need to tell you something," she said, "and you're going to be upset." "What is it?" I asked, concerned. "Dad, he's been asking us to testify for him at the divorce hearing," Winnie said. My heart sank. "He what?" "He called all 3 of us," Winnie continued. "He said he needs character witnesses, people to say he was a good father, a good provider. He wants us to tell the judge that his mistakes shouldn't cost him everything." "What did you say?" I asked, afraid of the answer. "I said no," Winnie said firmly. "Artie and Royal said no too. We told him we love him because he's our father, but we can't defend what he did to you. We can't stand up in court and lie for him." Relief flooded through me. "Thank you." "But Mom, he's not taking no for an answer," Winnie said. "He's calling constantly, showing up at our houses, begging. He's desperate." "What do you want me to do about it?" I asked. "I want to know, would it be okay if we blocked him for a while?" Winnie asked. "Just until the hearing is over. I love Dad, but I can't handle the pressure he's putting on us." "Of course it's okay," I said. "You need to protect your own mental health. Don't feel guilty about setting boundaries with your father." "Are you sure?" Winnie asked. "I don't want you to think we're choosing sides." "You're not choosing sides," I assured her. "You're choosing integrity. You're choosing not to lie in court. That's the right choice, regardless of which parent it helps or hurts." The divorce hearing was scheduled for early January, about 6 weeks after Thanksgiving. I dressed carefully that morning in a navy blue suit, professional, dignified, strong. Zenobia came with me for moral support, as did all 3 of my children. Homer was already there when we arrived, sitting with his lawyer. He looked terrible, like he'd lost 20 pounds and hadn't slept in weeks. When he saw me, he stood up. "Pearlie, please, can we talk before this starts?" "No," I said firmly. "I just need 5 minutes." "The answer is no, Homer," I repeated. "We have nothing to say to each other." "But I love you," Homer said desperately. "Doesn't 38 years mean anything to you?" "It meant everything to me," I said. "That's why what you did hurt so much. You took 38 years of my life and you wasted them. You made me feel worthless while you lived a double life. So no, I'm not giving you 5 minutes. I'm not giving you anything." The bailiff called us into the courtroom before Homer could respond. Judge Sterling Morrison presided over the hearing. He was a stern-looking man in his 60s who'd heard thousands of divorce cases. My lawyer presented our case first. She showed the evidence, the bank statements, the credit card bills, the private investigator's photos, the testimony from family members who'd witnessed Homer's behavior at Thanksgiving. Then she dropped the bombshell about the Cayman Islands account. Homer's face went white when the forensic accountant testified about finding the hidden offshore account. "Your Honor," the accountant said, "Mr. Washington has been systematically hiding marital assets in offshore accounts for at least 15 years. The deposits correlate with tax refunds that should have been joint marital property." Homer's lawyer objected. "Your Honor, my client was simply engaging in legitimate financial planning." "Legitimate financial planning includes disclosing accounts to your spouse," Judge Morrison said dryly. "Continue." When it was Homer's turn to testify, his lawyer tried to paint him as a devoted husband who'd made one mistake. "Mr. Washington, you had an affair," his lawyer said. "But that doesn't define your entire marriage, does it?" "No," Homer said. "I was a good husband for many years. I provided for my family. I worked hard. One mistake shouldn't erase all the good I did." My lawyer stood up for cross-examination. "Mr. Washington, you testified that you were a good husband," she said. "But isn't it true that you regularly humiliated your wife in front of your family?" I made jokes sometimes," Homer said. "Jokes," my lawyer pulled out a tablet. "I have recordings of family gatherings where you publicly mocked your wife's intelligence, her memory, her financial skills. Would you like me to play them for the court?" "That's not necessary," Homer said quickly. "And isn't it true that you controlled all the finances in the marriage, giving your wife a small allowance, while you spent freely on yourself and your mistress?" "I was managing our money responsibly." "By hiding $500,000 in secret accounts, while telling your wife you couldn't afford basic household expenses," my lawyer challenged. Homer didn't answer. "And the credit cards you opened in your wife's name without her knowledge or consent, that's called fraud, isn't it, Mr. Washington?" "I was going to pay them off," Homer said weakly. "With the money you were hiding from her," my lawyer pressed. "The money you claimed didn't exist." Homer looked at the judge helplessly. "I made mistakes, I know that, but I love my wife. I want to make things right." "By fighting to keep the money you stole from her?" my lawyer asked. "By refusing to take responsibility for the debt you fraudulently created in her name. That's your idea of making things right." Homer had no answer. After hearing all the testimony and reviewing all the evidence, Judge Morrison made his ruling. "This is one of the clearest cases of financial abuse and marital fraud I've seen in my 20 years on the bench," the judge said. "Mr. Washington, you systematically deceived your wife, hid marital assets, committed identity theft, and engaged in a long-term extramarital affair while publicly humiliating the woman you vowed to honor and cherish." Homer's head dropped. "Therefore, I'm ruling in favor of the petitioner on all counts," Judge Morrison continued. "Mrs. Washington is awarded 60% of all marital assets, including the hidden accounts. Full alimony at the amount requested for a period of 15 years. Full responsibility for all fraudulent debt to be placed on Mr. Washington. And reimbursement for all legal fees related to this divorce." Homer's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, that's excessive." "It's fair," Judge Morrison interrupted. "Mr. Washington's behavior was egregious. He's lucky his wife isn't pressing criminal charges for the identity theft. This divorce is granted. Court is adjourned." The gavel came down. It was over. As we left the courtroom, Homer caught up to me in the hallway. "Pearlie, please," he said, tears streaming down his face. "This is too much. I'll lose everything." "Good," I said calmly. "I'm begging you," Homer said. "Have mercy, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." I stopped and looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd controlled me for 38 years, who'd made me feel worthless, who'd stolen my money and my dignity. Homer, do you remember Thanksgiving 3 years ago? I asked. What? Homer looked confused. Thanksgiving 3 years ago, I repeated. I asked you if we could buy new dishes. Our old ones were chipped and broken. And do you remember what you said? Homer shook his head. You said we couldn't afford it. You said I was being wasteful for even asking. You made me feel guilty for wanting basic kitchen items. I stepped closer to him. And then you turned to the family and made a joke about how I always wanted to spend money we didn't have. Pearlie, that was the same month you bought Dovey a car, I said. A brand new car. While I was washing dishes in chipped bowls, you were buying your mistress a car with our money. Homer's face crumpled. So no, Homer, I don't have mercy for you, I said. You had 38 years to show me mercy, to treat me with kindness, to be honest with me, and you chose not to. So now you get to live with the consequences. I walked away, leaving him sobbing in the courthouse hallway. And I didn't look back. Pearlie won. The judge ruled in her favor on everything. Homer lost 60% of his assets, has to pay alimony, and take responsibility for all the debt. But is this really the end? What happens next in Pearlie's life? Subscribe now, smash that like button, and turn on NOTFICTONS. Drop a comment. Did the judge make the right decision? Do you think Pearlie was too harsh or just right? Where are you watching from? 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I stood in the living room of my new apartment, a beautiful 2-bedroom place with large windows that let in plenty of natural light. It was mine, all mine, bought with the settlement money from the divorce. For the first time in 38 years, I had a space that was completely my own. No one to answer to, no one to criticize my choices, no one to make me feel small. I was 65 years old, and I was finally free. The divorce settlement had been substantial. After the judge's ruling, Homer had been forced to liquidate assets to pay me. I received $300,000 from the hidden accounts, 60% of the total. Half of Homer's pension, $2,500 per month in alimony for 15 years. Full ownership of our jointly owned car. And Homer had to pay off all $87,000 in fraudulent credit card debt. It wasn't just about the money, though the financial security was wonderful. It was about justice, about Homer finally facing real consequences for his actions. My lawyer, Dovey Martinez, had called me the day after the hearing. Pearlie, I've been doing this for 20 years, and that's one of the most satisfying verdicts I've ever seen, she said. You deserved every penny. Thank you for fighting for me, I said, for believing me, for helping me get justice. You fought for yourself, Dovey said. I just provided the legal framework. You're the one who had the courage to stand up and tell the truth. The months after the divorce were spent rebuilding, not just my life, but my relationships with my children. Winnie had been the most supportive throughout everything. She called me every day, visited frequently, and helped me move into my new apartment. Mom, I'm so proud of you, she said as we unpacked boxes. You could have stayed quiet. You could have kept accepting Dad's treatment. But you didn't. You stood up for yourself. I should have done it years ago, I said. Maybe, Winnie agreed. But you did it when you were ready. That's what matters. Artie had struggled more with the aftermath. He loved his father but couldn't reconcile that love with Homer's actions. I visit Dad sometimes, Artie told me one day. He's living in a small apartment now. He looks broken. How do you feel about that? I asked, not sure how I felt about it myself. Conflicted, Artie admitted. Part of me feels bad for him. He lost everything, you, most of his money, his reputation. But then I remember what he did to you, and I think he deserves it. It's okay to feel both things, I said. He's your father. You can love him and still recognize that he's facing the consequences of his own choices. Do you ever feel bad for him? Artie asked. I thought about it honestly. No, I said. I feel relieved, Free, happy, but not bad for him. He had 38 years to treat me well, and he chose not to. I'm not going to feel guilty for protecting myself. Royal had eventually started seeing a therapist to work through his feelings about his father's betrayal. The therapist says I idolized Dad, Royal told me. That I saw him as this perfect man, and finding out he wasn't has been traumatic for me. I'm sorry you're going through this, I said. Don't be, Royal said. I needed to see the truth. And Mom, thank you for showing it to me, for showing all of us. If you hadn't spoken up, we might have gone our whole lives not knowing what kind of man he really is. And now you know, I said, and you can choose to be different. I will be, Royal promised. I'll never treat my partner the way Dad treated you, never. My extended family had rallied around me in ways I never expected. Zenobia had let me stay with her for 3 months while I looked for my own place. She'd been my rock through everything. I should have said something years ago, Zenobia told me one evening. I saw how Homer treated you. I heard the things he said, but I thought it was just how your marriage was. I didn't realize it was abuse. It's hard to see abuse when it's subtle, I said. When it's disguised as jokes or concern or traditional marriage roles. Still, Zenobia said, I'm your sister. I should have had your back. You have it now, I said. That's what matters. My brother Sterling had confronted Homer shortly after the Thanksgiving incident. I went to see him, Sterling told me. Told him he was a disgrace to our family, that what he did to you was unforgivable. What did he say? I asked. He cried, Sterling said. Said he knows he messed up, that he's going to therapy trying to be better. But honestly, Pearlie, I don't care. He had 38 years to be better and he wasn't. It's too late now. Even family members, I wasn't particularly close to reached out to express their support. My cousin Judge sent me a card that said, I always thought Homer was a jerk. I'm glad you finally saw it too. You deserve so much better. My niece Artie came to visit and brought me flowers. Aunt Pearlie, you're my hero, she said. My boyfriend sometimes makes little comments that put me down, and after seeing what you went through, I'm not tolerating it anymore. I broke up with him. Good for you, I said. Never let anyone make you feel small. I won't, Artie promised. You taught me that. Despite everything, Homer hadn't given up trying to get me back. For the first 3 months after the divorce, he sent letters to my new apartment. Long, rambling letters about how sorry he was, how he'd changed, how we could start over. I read the first few, then stopped. They all said the same thing. I'm sorry I've changed. Please give me another chance. But I'd heard it all before. Homer was good at apologizing. He wasn't good at actually changing. When the letters didn't work, he tried showing up at the library where I worked. Pearlie, please just talk to me for 5 minutes, he'd say. No, Homer, we have nothing to discuss. I'm in therapy. I'm working on myself. I understand what I did wrong now. Good for you. Do that work for yourself, not for me. Don't you miss me at all? 38 years together, doesn't that mean anything? It meant everything. That's why what you did hurt so much. Now please leave before I call security. Eventually, my supervisor had to ban him from the library for harassment. Homer then started calling my children, asking them to intercede on his behalf. Dad calls me once a week, Winnie told me, asking me to convince you to talk to him, to give him another chance. What do you tell him? I asked. That it's not my place to tell you what to do, Winnie said. That you're an adult who can make your own decisions, and that honestly, I don't think you should give him another chance. Thank you for respecting my boundaries, I said. Of course, Mom, Winnie said. You spent 38 years having your boundaries violated. I'm not going to add to that. 8 months after the divorce, I ran into Homer at the grocery store. I was in the produce section, picking out apples, when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Pearlie. I turned around. Homer stood there with a shopping basket, looking thinner and older than I remembered. Homer, I said neutrally. How are you? He asked. I'm well, I said. Excuse me, I need to. Wait, please, Homer said. I know you don't want to talk to me, but I need you to know something. I sighed. What? I'm not the man I was when we were married, Homer said. I've been in therapy for 8 months. Real therapy, working through my issues. I understand now what I did to you. How I used humiliation to control you. How I projected my own insecurities onto you. How I destroyed your self-esteem to build up my own ego. Good, I said. I'm glad you understand that. Now if you'll excuse me. I'm not asking you to take me back, Homer said quickly. I know that's never going to happen. I just want you to know that you were right about everything. And I'm sorry, really, truly sorry. I looked at him for a long moment. He did look different, more humble, less arrogant, like someone who'd genuinely been broken down and was trying to rebuild. I appreciate the apology, I said. Truly, but Homer, it doesn't change anything. What you did to me for 38 years, that's not something I can forgive. Not now, maybe not ever. I understand, Homer said. I just needed you to know that you deserved better. You always deserved better, and I'm sorry I didn't give you that. Thank you, I said, and I meant it. I left the grocery store feeling lighter, like a weight I didn't know I'd been carrying had lifted. Homer's genuine apology didn't erase the pain he'd caused, but it validated my decision to leave. It confirmed that I'd been right all along. One of the best things about my new life was the freedom to pursue my own interests. I'd always loved reading. It's why I'd taken the library job in the first place. But I'd never had time to explore that passion fully. Now I did. I started volunteering at a literacy center, teaching adults to read. Many of them were women who'd been held back by partners who wanted to keep them dependent and uneducated. I understood them in a way I never could have before. My husband told me I was too dumb to learn to read, one woman named Dovie told me. He said I should just focus on taking care of the house and kids. My ex-husband told me the same kinds of things, I said. That I wasn't smart enough to handle money, to make decisions, to have my own life. But he was wrong, and your husband was wrong too. How did you get away? Dovie asked. I stopped believing his lies, I said. I stopped accepting his version of who I was and started discovering who I really am. And that's what you're doing right now by learning to read. Watching these women grow and learn and reclaim their power, it was healing for me too. It reminded me how far I'd come. The Literacy Center's director, Royal Chen, noticed my passion for the work. Pearlie, have you ever considered going back to school? He asked. You'd make an excellent adult education teacher. I'm 65 years old, I said, laughing. Isn't it a bit late to go back to school? It's never too late to pursue your dreams, Royal said. Think about it. I did think about it, and 3 months later, I enrolled in a certification program for adult education. At 65 years old, I became a student again. And I loved every minute of it. One of the unexpected joys of my new life was spending more time with my grandchildren. Winnie had 2 kids, Sterling, age 10, and Zenobia, age 7. Now that I had my own place and financial stability, they came to visit often. Grandma, is it true you divorced Grandpa because he was mean to you? Sterling asked one day. I looked at Winnie, who nodded for me to answer honestly. Yes, I said. Grandpa wasn't kind to me. He said things that hurt my feelings and made me feel bad about myself. That's not nice, Zenobia said. When someone is mean to you, you should tell them to stop. I did tell him to stop, I said. Many times, but he didn't listen, so I had to leave. Good, Sterling said firmly. Nobody should be mean to my grandma. Thank you, sweetie, I said, hugging him. Later, Winnie pulled me aside. Is it okay that I let them know the basics of what happened? I didn't give them details, but I wanted them to understand why you and Dad aren't together anymore. It's perfect, I said. I don't want them to grow up thinking divorce just happens for no reason. They should know that leaving someone who treats you badly is okay, that you don't have to stay in situations that hurt you. That's what I want them to learn too, Winnie said. 1 year after the divorce was finalized, my family threw me a freedom party. We gathered at Zenobia's house, the same place where I'd exposed Homer's lies at Thanksgiving. But this time, the atmosphere was completely different. Celebratory, joyful, loving. "I want to make a toast," Winnie said, standing up with her glass raised. "To Mom, the strongest, bravest woman I know. You spent 38 years being told you weren't good enough, smart enough, or capable enough. But you proved them all wrong. You got your own apartment, started a new career path, and you're thriving. We're so proud of you." "Hear, hear," everyone cheered. "And," Artie added, "you taught all of us an important lesson. You taught us that it's never too late to stand up for yourself, that age is just a number, and that the best revenge is living well." "I'll drink to that," Sterling said, raising his glass. As I looked around the room at my children, my siblings, my nieces and nephews, my grandchildren, all the people who loved and supported me, I felt overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "All of you, for believing me, for standing by me, for helping me find my strength." "You always had strength, Aunt Pearlie," my niece Judge said. "You just finally let yourself use it." 2 weeks after the Freedom Party, I received a letter from Homer, but this one was different from all the others. "Dear Pearlie, I'm writing to tell you that I'm moving, taking a job in another state, a fresh start, away from all the memories and mistakes. I'm not running away. My therapist and I have worked through that impulse. I'm moving forward, building a new life, trying to be a better person. I know you'll never forgive me, and I've accepted that. But I want you to know that leaving me was the best thing you ever did, not just for you, but for me too. Being exposed at Thanksgiving, losing the divorce, facing the consequences of my actions, it destroyed me at first. But it also forced me to look at myself honestly for the first time in my life. I was a terrible husband. I was emotionally abusive. I controlled you through humiliation and financial manipulation. I lied, cheated, and stole. And I did it all while convincing myself I was a good man. Losing you made me realize I wasn't a good man, but it also gave me the chance to become one. I'm not writing this to ask for forgiveness or reconciliation. I'm writing to say thank you. Thank you for being brave enough to leave. Thank you for exposing my lies. Thank you for refusing to accept my apologies and take me back. Because if you had taken me back, I never would have changed. I would have promised to be better, then slowly gone back to my old ways. You knew that. That's why you refused. You deserved better than me. You always did. And now you have the chance to find it. I hope you're happy, Pearlie. I hope you're living the life you always wanted. And I hope someday, when you think of our 38 years together, you'll remember at least a few good moments among all the bad. Goodbye, Homer. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it up and put it in a drawer. It was a good apology, a genuine one, the kind I'd wanted for 38 years. But it didn't change anything, and that was okay. 6 months after receiving Homer's letter, I completed my adult education certification. I was now a certified teacher, qualified to work in literacy programs and adult education centers. At 66 years old, I'd started a brand new career. The Literacy Center offered me a full-time position, which I accepted. My days were now filled with helping adults learn to read, improve their skills, and gain confidence. Many of my students were women leaving abusive relationships, women who'd been told they were stupid, incapable, worthless, just like I had been. I understood them. I could help them in ways other teachers couldn't. "Mrs. Washington," one of my students said to me, "you give me hope. If you could leave a bad marriage after 38 years and build a whole new life, maybe I can too." "You absolutely can," I told her. "You're stronger than you know, and you deserve better." One evening, as I was locking up the Literacy Center, the Director Royal approached me. "Pearlie, we've been so impressed with your work here," he said. "We'd like to offer you the position of Program Director. It would mean more responsibility, but also more impact. You'd be overseeing all our adult literacy programs." I stared at him in shock. Program Director, but I just got my certification 6 months ago. And in those 6 months, you've transformed our program, Royal said. Our enrollment is up 40%. Student success rates have improved. And every single student evaluation mentions how inspiring and supportive you are. You're a natural leader, Pearly. I don't know what to say, I stammered. Say yes, Royal encouraged. You've spent your whole life being told you weren't capable of leadership. Prove them wrong. I thought about Homer, telling me I wasn't smart enough to handle money, to make decisions, to have a career. I thought about all the years I'd believed him. And I thought about the woman I'd become, strong, independent, successful. Yes, I said firmly, I'll take the position. Royal smiled. Congratulations, Director Washington. Director Washington, I like the sound of that. On what would have been my 39th wedding anniversary, I sat on my apartment balcony watching the sunset. I thought about the journey I'd been on. From that Thanksgiving dinner when I'd finally exposed Homer's lies, through the divorce to where I was now. I was 66 years old, single for the first time since I was 27, living in my own apartment, working as a program director, financially independent, surrounded by family who loved and respected me. Homer had wanted to humiliate me in front of the entire family. He'd wanted to make me look foolish, to reinforce his control over me, to keep me small and dependent. Instead, I'd revealed his lies. I'd exposed his affair, his financial abuse, his manipulation. I'd watched his mouth drop in shock as his carefully constructed facade crumbled. And in doing so, I'd freed myself. The divorce hadn't been easy. The aftermath had been complicated, but it had been worth it. Because now, for the first time in my adult life, I knew who I was. Not Homer's wife. Not the incompetent woman he'd made me believe I was. I was Pearly Washington, survivor, teacher, leader, grandmother, friend. I was enough. I'd always been enough. I just had to stop believing Homer's lies to see it. My phone rang. It was Winnie. Hi, Mom. Just calling to check on you. I know today would have been your anniversary. I'm good, sweetheart, I said. Really good. Are you thinking about Dad? Winnie asked. A little, I admitted, but not with sadness, more with relief. Relief that I'm not still in that marriage. Relief that I found the courage to leave. I'm proud of you, Mom, Winnie said. Every single day I'm proud of you. Thank you, baby, I said. After we hung up, I sat for a while longer, watching the sun set over the city. Tomorrow, I'd go to work. I'd help women learn to read, gain skills, build confidence. I'd use my experience to help others find their strength. But tonight, I was just going to sit here and enjoy the peace, the freedom, the knowledge that I'd survived, I'd thrived, and I'd proven that it's never too late to take control of your own life. Homer had wanted to humiliate me. Instead, I'd humiliated him by showing everyone who he really was. His mouth had dropped when I revealed his lies. And mine had spread in a smile when I realized I was finally, truly free. What a powerful journey. Pearly went from being humiliated and controlled for 38 years to exposing her husband's lies, winning her divorce, and building an incredible new life as a teacher and program director. This story proves that it's never too late to stand up for yourself. Exposing the truth is powerful, even when it's scary. You don't have to accept mistreatment just because it's familiar. Real strength comes from believing in yourself. The best revenge is building a beautiful life without your abuser. Age is just a number. You can start over at any age. If this story inspired you, please subscribe to this channel for more empowering stories. Smash that like button. Turn on notifications for new content. Drop a comment. What was your favorite moment in Pearly's journey? What lesson from this story will you carry with you? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Jamaica, South Africa, Australia, Trinidad, India, Philippines. Let me know. Remember, if someone is constantly putting you down, making you feel small, or humiliating you, that's not love. You deserve respect. You deserve kindness. And you have the power to walk away and build a better life. It's never too late. Thank you for following Pearlie's transformation from humiliated wife to empowered director. May her story inspire you to never accept less than you deserve. Until the next story, stay strong, believe in yourself, and never let anyone make you feel small.